So let's begin our discussion of rationalism. Rationalism, again, the theory that knowledge is gained through reason. And the first rationalist we will discuss is Plato. We've seen Plato before. Plato was not the first rationalist. In fact, there is a history among our ancient Greek philosophers, specifically pre-Socratic philosophers, in thinking that our senses are not reliable enough to give us information. Plato believed this, but he was not the first. Heraclitus believed that things were constantly changing, and yet our senses tell us that some things remain the same. Our senses also tell us that there are things that exist. However, if everything is changing, then there is not anything that remains the same. If things are constantly changing, nothing ever remains the same. And if nothing ever remains the same, then nothing can exist. And yet it seems things exist. So our senses do not give us reliable information. Plato thought this was accurate as well. Plato believed the physical world exists. Okay, Plato believed that there is, in fact, this physical world. I know some of you might be thinking, well, sure, we're going to see why we might think, when we talk about our empiricists in a bit, we're going to see why that might be in question. But Plato believed that the tables and the chairs and the buildings and the trees and the sky and the birds, they all exist. But in addition to the physical world that's constantly changing, the physical world that our senses cannot give us reliable information about, there is an immaterial, an unchanging world. And it is in this immaterial, unchanging world that genuine knowledge exists. Genuine knowledge is found in this unchanging, immaterial world. And what specifically exists in this world, Plato claimed, are forms. This is the world of the forms. And forms are universal properties in which particular objects participate. Makes perfect sense, right? Okay. Plato's forms exist in this immaterial realm. And the forms are basically abstract ideas of objects. Consider a chair, okay? Now, we all know that there are a lot of different kinds of chairs out there. There are chairs with arms and chairs without arms. There are chairs with 4 legs. There are chairs with a trunk-like thing and then wheels, right? Think of your desk chair at home that you can roll around on. There are, bar stools that we might call chairs. There are chairs with little itty bitty backs and chairs with really high backs. The lazy boy recliner chair versus your kitchen table chair. There are lots and lots and lots of things we call chair. Well, what in the world makes all of these different objects a chair? When we try to come up with a definition of chair, it's incredibly difficult. I mean, incredibly difficult. Because it's hard to find a definition that includes everything it needs to include, but doesn't include things it should not include. But for Plato, we don't have to worry about that. Because for Plato, what makes the high back office desk chair with wheels, the kitchen table chair, and the lazy boy recliner chair, all chairs, is that they participate in the form chair. Okay? They participate in the form chair, and it is because of that they all count as chairs. And there are forms for everything. There are forms for circle and triangle and square. There are forms for green and red and yellow. There are forms for computer, desk, car, truck. Everything that exists or will exist or has existed has a form. And what makes it the thing that it is that it participates in this form. So the form is this universal abstract property that objects participate in to be the thing they are. And obviously, when you have a green chair, it participates in two of them, right? It participates in green and chair. Plato believed that this immaterial, unchanging world basically exists in the heavens, and that is where the forms are. And Plato also believed in dualism, the non-physical soul. He also believed in reincarnation. So basically, our souls start in the heavens, where they get to frolic with the forms and they know fully the forms. When the soul is attached to the baby being born, all that information is still in the soul, but it gets all mixed up. And it is the job of the individual throughout the corporeal lifetime to tease out that information and come to understand the forms. And when the body dies, the soul will go back up to the heavens, frolic with the forms again, and then be reincarnated with another body. And it will be the job of the lifetime of that individual to tease out the information for the forms. What this means is we gain that knowledge before experience because we are born with it. We are born with the knowledge of the forms. Knowledge of the forms is innate. We gain it before experience because we are born with it. Does that make sense?